Hey guys, and welcome to another video. Recently we checked out two GTX 285 graphics cards in SLI. We used a AMD AM3 Plus motherboard which had a SLI license and everything worked well. However, I have in previous videos used these Chinese mainboards with LGA 2011 and LGA 1366. Both motherboards are Crossfire compatible. They have two PCI Express 16X slots. So I always wanted to see if I could get them to work with SLI. Officially, they don't support it, but there are tools on the internet. A lot of them are old. There's a really good thread on the Tech Power Up forum website. I will put links to all the resources down below in the video description. The topic of getting SLI to work on non-SLI motherboards is a bit of a rabbit hole, and I played around with two systems, Windows XP, Vista, Windows 7, a lot of drivers, a lot of tools, and yep, so in the end I was successful. SLI is working, and I will provide you an overview with what tools you need and also which components seem to work a little bit better. So the first mainboard is quite popular. It's the Plex HD X79 Turbo. Has LGA 2011, supports processors from the Sandy Bridge and Ivy Bridge generation. So those are the Xeon processors with the V1 and V2 designation. Quad channel memory, and we have two PCI Express 16X, and there's a 4X and two 1X slots, so a heap of ports. At least one SATA 3 ports, the other ones are SATA 2, and we're also getting USB 3 and NVMe. Also nice, we have buttons for power and reset, as well as a postcode LED. I tested with a range of operating systems, and I'm using the Easy to Boot project, which lets you create a bootable USB stick and then copy all your ISOs onto it. So Windows XP, Windows Vista and Windows 7 I all installed through Easy to Boot. So basically after I install the operating system, I then run the Snappy Driver Installer Origin, and I install all the drivers apart from the video card drivers, and then we are up and running. I copy over some games and benchmarks, and of course various SLI tools. Before we can try to enable SLI, we have to configure the operating system. Firstly, we disable UAC, which is pretty straightforward. You just type it into the start search and then set it to the lowest setting. Next, we have a little nifty tool here. It's called the Driver Signature Enforcement Overrider. And we have to use this because some of the drivers won't be properly signed anymore. So the operating system needs to be okay for that. And yeah, you click on Disable Test Mode, reboot the machine, and then you will see some watermarks in the corners telling you that we are now in test mode. The first tool I checked out was Sli Patch 1.5. We are on Vista Service Pack 2 X64, and we have the NVIDIA driver 195.62. So we run Sli Patch and then clicking on Install, after which we reboot the machine. And we will then see the Windows Boot Manager has a second option called Sli Patch X64. We select that option, and already we can see a message appear telling us the system is SLI capable. We just go into the driver, enable SLI, and yeah, everything is working. You will now see better performance in your games. At some point during the testing, I saw in GPUZ that the BIOS versions on my video cards are different. So I used the GPUZ tool to dump the latest BIOS, and then I used NV Flash to flash that latest BIOS version onto the second card, and now they have the identical BIOS. That might not be a huge factor, but it worries me. If it has a BIOS, we're going to flash it, and with SLI video cards you want to make sure they are the identical models, and yeah, preferably the same BIOS version as well. The next tool I tested is called Hyper SLI. Again, you run the tool, select install, the machine will reboot, and we're selecting the Hyper SLI option. It will then continue the installation and tell us we need another reboot. Unfortunately, after that reboot, the system blue screens and it didn't work for me. Moving on to another tool. This one is called Different SLI Auto, and this seems to be very popular. I saw this one mentioned very often. Again, we're under Vista Service Pack 2 X64. We're testing a newer driver version, 342.01. Now the process here is a little bit more complicated. You need to go into Windows, System32 driver, and copy nvl ddmkm.sys out from the driver folder into the folder that has Different SLI Auto. Then you run Different SLI Auto. It will patch the driver. There will be a confirmation. Next, run the install batch file. It will then copy that patch driver back into the driver folder, reboot the machine, and hopefully it works. But in our case, it did not work. So the SLI menu option simply did not appear, although we followed the process correctly. In my testing, I also came across a weird flicker issue, and at first I thought maybe it's to do with the SLI bridge, but I have 4 bridges and the issue persisted. So it might just be a combination of a certain driver with a certain patch and maybe even to do with the chipset. Still, when I removed the SLI bridge, the flicker issue went away and SLI still works even without the bridge, but at reduced performance. For example, on this system using Far Cry 2, with the bridge I saw 99 FPS, and that goes down to 87 FPS if you remove the SLI bridge. So at this point, the X79 system, I was not very successful with getting SLI to work. For me, the Sli Patch 1.5 worked the best, and I had most success with older drivers, but it simply would not work with newer drivers. Also, I had no luck with Different SLI Auto. So it seems on this platform, it's very picky. You have to find the right combination of drivers and patches to have success with SLI. But if you're happy to use some older drivers and the Sli Patch 1.5, yep, you can get SLI to work on this mainboard. And now we're switching to another system. This is the Huanan X58 Deluxe, and I really like this mainboard. It's the only one that has proper triple channel memory. We are dealing with an older platform, so no M.2, no SATA 3. We do get USB 3. We do get a postcode LED. Unfortunately, no power and reset buttons on this mainboard. But so far, I've used this in a few projects and also, yeah, works pretty well. Straight away, I noticed that this system was a lot more cooperative with the SLI. So I tested the Different SLI Auto 1.4 as well as Hyper SLI 1.0, and both of these utilities worked. Even with the latest driver version, which is 342.01, which is the latest Windows 7 driver. We are now on Windows 7, the Service Pack 1 release X64, and it unlocked without any issues. I tried a few different drivers and they all worked. So the bottom line is that this system simply is more compatible. Maybe it's to do with the age. It's an older chipset, an older platform. Maybe it is simply just supported better. Now, I also had a look at the performance. I took down some figures on the AMD system that we reviewed recently, early in the week. In the Canyon Flight benchmark, I saw 113 FPS, whereas on this platform 123, so a slight improvement. In Far Cry 2, however, the AMD system performed better with 78 FPS compared to 75 FPS on this one. So in terms of performance, I expected a lot more. The IPC is a lot higher. This CPU runs at 3.6 gigahertz with 4 cores. It should outdo the FX 6300 quite easily in terms of IPC, so I expected a lot higher numbers. I have ordered a Gigabyte X58 motherboard from China that will arrive probably in a month, and then I can do some proper comparisons. But at this point of time, I can't fully recommend it yet because I don't know if the performance is actually up to scratch. But in terms of compatibility between the two mainboards, the X58 was definitely heaps better. I also had a quick go at Windows XP. Unfortunately, I didn't get too far. One of the video cards, I couldn't install the driver. It said code error 12, not enough free resources. It might have to do with the RAM, because both video cards have a gigabyte of VRAM. I did try with a single 2 gigabyte module, but I still got the error message. So maybe this will start working if you're using video cards with 512 megabytes of video RAM. So what's the verdict? The X58 mainboard worked much better for me in terms of which drivers you can use, what tools you can use, and basically just the success rate. X79 not so much. It's a shame. This is a more modern platform with M.2 NVMe. We're getting SATA 3 and quad channel memory interface, as well as access to faster CPUs. But if you want to try SLI, then you're better off with the X58. You're looking at around $70 US. Now, I had a look at prices for used X58 mainboards. They go for around 130 Australian dollars in terms of conversion. Maybe that's 90 to 100 US. So yeah, you still have to pay a little bit more for a used mainboard. But I have to tell you, you should see the state of my lab after this project. It's a mess. A lot of time wasted, or that you don't get back. And I really question, is it actually worth going for one of these mainboards if you want to muck around with SLI? I'm leaning towards spending a little bit more. Do get a used motherboard. SLI, it comes with a license. It's guaranteed to work with any driver and any video card and any operating system. It will just work. Plus, you get the latest BIOS from the manufacturer. You can do the frontside bus overclocking on X58, as well as overclocking of the multiplier and raising the voltages and so on. So, this is not something I would recommend for you to go out and buy for building a retro SLI gaming machine. But if you have one lying around and you want to muck around and you've got an afternoon with lots of time, then give it a shot. It's definitely interesting seeing this work on these mainboards. So guys, there you have it. We had some success getting SLI to work. X58 did a lot better. All the tools I will upload to our website, link down below in the description, so you don't have to spend too much time chasing dead links and trying to find old drivers, whatnot. And if you have any knowledge to do with SLI and getting it to run on mainboards that don't support SLI from back in the day, if you've got any stories, do share them down below in the comment section. Would love to hear them. And personally, I'm looking forward to getting actually 2 SLI mainboards that I've ordered this week. They probably arrive next month, because one board comes from China, so that will take a month. The other one might be here within 2 weeks, because it's locally from Australia. And that's it. Let me know what else you want to see. I do my best to make it happen. Leave a comment, give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And that's it. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.